everybody, and welcome to my channel. If you've never been here before, my name is Heather Spears and I am a fashion designer. So in today's video, I am doing one of the things that I love most. I am merging two things that I love together into one fashion piece. So what happened is I am a super big fan of comedy. I love to laugh. I make sure that it is part of my daily life. And in doing so, my day doesn't feel complete unless I am literally sitting at some point, relaxing and watching a cartoon. Now, my favorite thing to do is watch Adult Swim. It's just one of those things that is part of my daily life that I wouldn't want to give up for anything. So, Adult Swim actually announced that they're hosting Adult Swim Con in place of a traditional in-person event this year. And with Adult Swim Con, they kind of announced this cosplay competition that really inspired me and I couldn't say no to, so I jumped on board with that. And what I did is I made a costume, and it is taking inspiration from Rick and Morty, which is one of my favorite shows right now. Now, with that being said, I don't want you to think of this as like a cosplay, because it is not a representation of a character necessarily. It is a representation of something that we all should recognize as Rick and Morty fans, which is when Rick jumps, through a portal into another world. So it is a portal ball gown with Rick emerging from it in a way. So if you are excited, please give me a thumbs up. And before we get started, I will warn you, this video gets a little weird. But it also makes me happy in a really weird way. So just keep that in mind and know if you're not willing to get a little weird, then what's the point? So anyway, let's get started on checking this thing out. So that is a quick look at my Rick and Morty cosplay for this Adult Swim Con challenge. This was, presented by Adult Swim, and the task at hand was really to create a unique cosplay based off one of their show properties. So Adult Swim has a super cool, super unique list of very funny shows that I really enjoy. So coming up with what show I wanted to do, I'm not going to say it was a little difficult, but I definitely had ideas flowing around the second I heard about this competition. And my mind landed on two main things: Rick and Morty and Robot Chicken. So those are my favorite Adult Swim shows, and I love them both so dearly. So what really made me land on Rick and Morty is two main things. And it was, for one, it is my actual favorite. And number two is I had all of the supplies I needed to make this portal idea come to life. I didn't have a single white feather in the house, so Robot Chicken was something that I needed to put on the back burner. I'm not saying I'll never do it, I'm just saying I needed to put it on the back burner because I'm still, practicing social distancing, staying at home, and I needed most of the supplies that I used to be, right here in my home already, because this was a unique design that I was doing for this specific reason, and I was actually making it within the week time slot that they had announced the competition. So I needed the supplies ready to go, and Rick and Morty just it seemed like destiny. So the biggest challenge with this particular look is actually the design aesthetic. And I feel like I need to kind of elaborate on that and move forward in talking about that just a little bit. So what I wanted to do was, Rick and Morty has so many amazing characters and they're all super unique looking, and the colors are fun and the ideas behind them and their attitudes and everything is super in-depth. This is an in-depth show in the funniest way. So I mean, I could have landed on any of those characters and felt good about it. But I wanted to highlight something that, I mean, I took a long time to think about it. And I thought, what is the most important part of Rick and Morty that is maybe a little bit underrated? And I came up with the portal. And the reason why I came up with this is because I feel like the portal is everywhere. The portal is your, road to meeting these characters, and the portal is so important. You see the portal a lot, but I think it's rarely like highlighted as like a main portion of the show, even though it's like the biggest thing. So that's why my head was like, okay, so I want to do Rick and Morty and I want it to incorporate that portal in. So you can't just, take the portal and make it super recognizable, because that'd be hard to do in an alpha if it was just the portal. So I sat down with my sister and we were talking about, options and what I could do to make this portal more recognizable for Rick and Morty. And she came up with the idea of, why don't you have Rick and Morty pop out of it? And I thought about it and I thought, I could go novelty with that and I could use plushies and things like that. But I thought it would be super cool if my top half became Rick and my bottom half remained the portal. And that would just show like the character emerging from the portal, and it would be like kind of a weird like artistic take on that. And that's kind of where it kind of ended up, this underrated but very important part of the show, and coming up with a whole scene rather than just sticking to one like super cool character. So needless to say, the skirt was the most important part of the project, and it took the longest. So with the skirt, I had this idea that I wanted it to not only look like, the show's portal, but I wanted it to function like the show's portal. And I know that's kind of a little bit of a stretch, but I'll explain that here in 1 second. So first of all, it needed to look like the portal. And in doing that, I thought the best way for me to do that is to choose different fabrics that would have different textures to create, different movement in the skirt. And that's why I chose the fabrics that I did. Now, I knew the fabrics alone weren't going to say Rick and Morty enough, and it wasn't going to look like a portal enough unless I hand painted them. So I cut them in strips and I laid them all out on my garage floor, and I used so many different painting and dyeing techniques to get these to look like the show's portal. And when they dried, they got kind of a lot stiffer, which made it super easy to fill out the skirt. It was a long process, but I hand gathered all of the pieces and I sewed them onto the skirt in a specific way. So I made it kind of go at a diagonal shape so that we would get the circular look to the skirt. And that was super important for the function part. Now, I wanted this skirt to function like the show's portal. So I wanted it to be an exact circle, kind of how the portal is. And so when I spin around in a circle, you'll notice that the skirt flares out into a circle itself. And not only that, also when I sit on the floor, I could bubble it out around me to make it look like, a very large portal that Rick is emerging through. So that's how the function happened. I made a circle skirt, and the way that I gathered this fabric in kind of this diagonal shape, it kind of created that illusion that this is, an exact circle, kind of like the portals are on the show. So it came down to look and function, and I couldn't have been happier with the way that it turned out. The rest of this look was pretty much just Rick emerging from all of that, and it was pretty simple and pretty classic to the character himself. So what I did is I did a top. In the top, I did kind of more of a glam version of, what Rick would usually wear. A kind of brighter, kind of shimmery kind of thing. I thought that just kind of went with the idea of a ball gown a little bit better than his kind of paler blue color there. So that's why I did the shirt that way. Then I also made kind of a crop, kind of cute lab coat. And I actually lined that in the same color liner as he has on the show, just to give that extra nod to, this is a cosplay, regardless of it being a scene or a character or whatnot. So on top of that, I did the wig that I wore, very classic to how Rick does his hair, and then this is the makeup. And I thought the makeup was the funniest part, and it took me a while to do it. I'm not a makeup artist, so what I did was I put wax on my eyebrows, and I, kind of layered a foundation and stuff over it so I could draw on cartoon eyebrows. Now Rick does have one eyebrow. I did too because I didn't think I could really pull off his exact look, but I thought that was the funniest part of the whole thing because I was making these expressions and I thought I didn't even look like myself, so I was like entertaining myself in the mirror, you know, making my eyebrows move because it just felt so not me at the same time. And you know, I had a good laugh with that, so that was a super fun part of the project too. Okay you guys, so before I go, I just wanted to thank you guys so much for coming out and spending the time with me today. Now I did warn you it was gonna get a little weird, and I know that it did, so I hope you found some entertainment in that today. So anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please remember to give me a thumbs up so that I know to keep bringing content like this. And if you'd like to see more, hit that subscribe button and you're always welcome to join me. Until next time guys, wubba lubba dub dub!